What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Troubling Tribune. I'm your host, Skylar Moody, and today we have a very exciting live stream for you today. Let's go ahead and get right into it. I was on the internet and I came across this really interesting story in the Trolls Den. More on that here in just a second. For those of you who know, comedy this day and age has taken a huge downturn. Very, very unfunny things for the most part. And it seems that only the people who are willing to go against the current regime actually can actually make people laugh. So, as is the role of the Joker or the gesture, the fool, you will. So let's go ahead and get into this. Now, there was a comedian back in the 90s, died in 92, named Sam Kinison. Sam Kinison was probably one of the best comedians of the day. He was very high energy, very charismatic, and the story is actually pretty strange, has some strange coincidences in it, but I want to go ahead and pay homage first to Mr. Funny Man Kinison. I don't know his nickname, but that's just what I like to call him. So you'll have to forgive me on that. Not that I care too much about your opinion. This is a show that I do for anybody who wants to watch. And, of course, everything in it is my opinion. Even the stuff that I show on here, the facts, I give my opinion about the facts. So if you don't like it, you can deal with it. So let's go ahead and do this here. This is probably one of his most famous bits. If you have seen him, you've probably seen him from here.
I'm going around the country. I'm trying to get as many people as I can not to get married. I promise never to get married. I've been married, and I'm just trying to help. Okay. So here has never been married? You never been married? What's your name? Michael? Well, Michael, if you ever think about getting married, if you ever think you've met the right woman, you want to settle down, change your life, you do me a favor, Mike? Remember this face. Because if you get married, Mike, that's going to be your fucking face every day. It's the face of every married man. He wakes up in the morning. It's the truth, man. He wakes up in the morning, he goes to the mirror, he looks in it and goes, there's one good thing about marriage. I put the whole institution. Good thing about marriage. The best thing about marriage is that these are protected. They don't come on. Because if they did, you take it as soon as you got married. You won't be needing that. You want this to be in my purse or in your fridge? What? You're going out of town with your just leave that. Oh, I see all these guys on the phone. Guys? Yeah, listen, I gotta cancel out. I can't make it. No, I'm not gonna be able to go. She's got my dick! No, she won't give it to me. I talked to her all day. Yeah, she got the spare too. She's upset. I tried to sneak the house with this morning, and I was halfway out of the driveway. She come running out of the house, and I had to give it to her right there on the street. Okay, I'll ask her. Hold on. Honey, it's the guys.
This is
no, they just called to say that they're all taking theirs. Well, no, I just gonna take mine, stand out, you know. Okay, she said no fucking way. Yeah, she said no way that they stay here. Do me a favor, if you guys see me working on the yard stuff around the house next week, you do me a favor? You do me a favor? Tell me. Strangle me, shoot me, run me over, whatever it takes, I'm in hell!
very, very funny stuff, of course. Way funnier than 99%, 90% of what you got going on. We still got Dave Chappelle and a few others that don't mind speaking truth to power. But very, very funny stuff. All that aside, that was a clear COVID violation. You can't get that close to people. Sam, come on. What are you doing? You got to keep your distance 6 feet, screaming all the spittles. You got to watch out for the droplets. Yeah, very bad stuff there. Yeah, R.I.P. Mr. Kinison. For those of you who don't know, well, obviously you do know because I said at the beginning of the show, Mr. Kinison is no longer with us, which goes ahead and bring me to this story here. Now, I do want to preface this show by saying that, I probably should have said this before the Sam Kinison clip, but this show is definitely not for kids. We're going to be touching on some pretty heavy subjects, and it would be best for little ears to leave the room. So this has been your warning. And we'll go ahead and get into this story here. Now, I found this over on the Trolls Den. I refer to it as the Trolls Den. You may know it as Reddit. And this was found over in r/conspiracy. Just to give you a little background, the conspiracy subreddit is a thinking ground. Above all else, we respect everyone's opinions and all religious beliefs and creeds. Except, of course, if you're a flat earther. We do not like flat earthers. Feel free to post your thing, but get ready to be met with a mountain. And I do mean a literal mountain of trolls. So, here we go. This story was titled Sam Kinison, Comedian, Bill Clinton, Future A-Lister. We don't know. We're not going to make any accusations or anything like that. That'd be dumb. We don't have all the facts. But let's just go ahead and dive right in. So this takes place back in the 90s. I'm going to paraphrase. You obviously don't need me to read every single little word of this. This was in the summer or spring of 1990. In the summer, and then it jumps right to the summer. These guys are great writers. So in the summer of 1990, there was an A-list comedian working everywhere. He was at his peak, making movies and making specials, doing drugs, being infidelious, having sex with a bunch of women. And one night in a small southern town, he was hanging out with a nobody back then. But later, this person would become known as an A-list celebrity. So we have a spoiler alert right here in the beginning. A-list celebrity from a nobody here hanging out with this comedian. He was having a great time. These two loved to party and pick up women and had very similar backgrounds growing up. After our comedian performed, he picked up 2 women. Both of them were not old enough to drive. The 2 teens were introduced to our comedian's friend, and the 4 of them began partying. So you already kind of see where this is going. They involved a bunch of drugs and alcohol. They were underage. And the A-list celebrity was sexually assaulting one of them, and she died right there in this, quote, cabin in the woods. So remember, I warned you, the show was not for children. Obviously, they have some connections due to their position, and they're going to cover this up. Parents were informed, but not of the whole situation. Other teen was sworn to secrecy and let go to return home. Comedian goes back to Los Angeles, does tell his girlfriend, and then the girlfriend begins this process of trying to blackmail the A-lister. One night, the comedian goes out to work and meets up with a guy who drugs him and then carries the comedian to his car, brings him home, and then for the next 12 hours, the stranger sexually assaults the girlfriend and then warns her that next time she tries to blackmail anyone, that she would be killed. So when the comedian came to and found out what happened, he told the girlfriend to drop it, of course. She did not and decided to press charges against the man because that's... you got to admire the bravery of it. I definitely, in situations like that, women definitely need to come forward. But I mean, the reality is that she got herself kind of into that situation by trying to blackmail. They probably should have just went to the police and it be done with. So there were some strings pulled and some money distributed, and a mistrial was declared. Okay, so now we're going to fast forward a year to the summer of 91. A-list of Bohemian Grove future is being debated. So Bohemian Grove, that is where the celebrities like to meet up. not just celebrities, but politicians and all kinds of high up powerful people. I guess sometimes they get high, who knows. But they like to worship a giant owl, fire, and mock child sacrifices. So this A-lister's future is being debated, and it basically comes down to this incident that is problematic. The girlfriend is problematic, and it is agreed that the teen involved, the one that they let go, needs to be killed. So the A-lister ties the loose end and then gets chosen to move forward. So teen is killed under very mysterious circumstances. I don't need to get too much into that. Just basically drugs, chalked it up to an overdose and let it go. Fast forward to the spring of 92, the A-lister continues to, quote, clean up the messes. And one of those messes is, of course, the comedian and his girlfriend, who are very nervous at this point. They want to speak, so the comedian calls the A-lister, and they have a nice little chat. And after this chat that they have, everything sounds good. And on the phone, and the comedian relaxes and decides to take his girlfriend on vacation, and they end up getting married. Oh, how sweet. So you were just going a bunch of drugs, having sex with a whole bunch of women, and now you got scared straight from this incident. Meanwhile, powers that be know that something has to be done. Comedian knows his wife are now big loose ends, so they decide that they need to be killed, or at least the wife needs to be killed. So they find the person who's going to do it. They basically find the teen who was the boyfriend of the girl who was killed earlier in the story at first, and they say it was the comedian that actually gave her the drugs and sexually assaulted her and covered everything up. So the teen wants revenge, and he gets it. He kills the comedian and almost kills the wife. And because he is a teen, he ended up doing no time for the death, and no one even knows his name. Muddied the waters of the accident, and the wife learned, of course, to stay quiet. So I guess that's the point of the person who wrote this story, which I don't necessarily agree with that. I think the best thing they should have done was just come clean way back in the beginning, and things wouldn't have gotten out of hand. But of course, this was just a story that they do attribute it to Bill Clinton. I think the timeline's a little off on that, but I'm not so sure. I'd have to go back and look. I always recommend people go back and do their own research, but when you do, you will find there's some interesting stuff with Sam. He actually did die in a car accident. A drunk teenager whose name wasn't released did swerve into oncoming traffic and kill him, and almost did kill the wife. And the other funny thing is that Malika, I think that was her name, Malika Kinison, the wife, then girlfriend, actually was on trial in 1991 for sexual assault against a bodyguard that Sam Kinison had apparently hired that night for $100. So the story doesn't make a whole lot of sense at all. Yeah, but again, we don't want to point any fingers here. So let's just go ahead and move on. Very cool stuff. You can definitely go check that out at r/conspiracy. Get ready to sift through the trolls and have fun with that. I always tell people, do not feed the trolls. If you feed the trolls, they'll only come back for more. It doesn't get you anywhere. Just waste a whole bunch of your time. So speaking of stuff that is a waste of time or not a waste of time, I posed a question back on the Jeranism show a couple weeks back called what should we be doing? It was on the Speaker's Corner. Of course, I advise you to go watch the whole show. It's great content, great research comes up, and lots of different people come on. So it's a good way to find new content if that's what you're looking for. But basically, I posed the question, what should we be doing with everything that's been going on with the obvious corruption and everything? And there are some arms of that corruption that I feel can be dealt with pretty swiftly. So especially on the local level, part of what we can be doing is exactly what already happens on YouTube, independent journalism. And so this is a story that broke about 6 days ago, give or take. I have to go back and check the date. This story comes from a website called A Neighbor's Choice. It's a local to Florida article, I'm sure, meaning they wrote it for people. But this has to do with corruption in the Polk County School Board. This is right in my backyard. For those of you who don't know, Polk County School District is one of the largest in Florida and the nation, with over 110,000 students and over a $2 billion budget. Thank you, Neighbor's Choice, for making that easy for me. So I'll just go ahead and get right into the story for you, because this is some current corruption. This was written back in June 8th, July 8th. So a lot more recent than that, by David Gornowski. And it states in June, a newly hired Polk superintendent, Fred Hyde, had hired Lindsay Sharp. So we got two names already dropped, Fred Hyde and Lindsay Sharp, to be the senior director of digital learning and innovation. So that is that's online learning, essentially. Superintendent, that's going to be the principal of principals. So he's basically in charge of all the schools, the way they're run. And Lindsay Sharp is now going to be in charge of how the students are learning online. Now, here's the kicker. Both Hyde and Sharp have been named in an ongoing lawsuit in Illinois, alleging misconduct in the hiring supervision practices of criminally convicted serial child rapist Carlos Bedoya. You heard that right. We have two people under investigation for mishandling of the hiring practices of a child rapist that I guess worked under them. Let's read on. He worked as a para teacher, soccer coach, and substitute teacher. Prior to joining Polk, with a little bit of history, Hyde was the superintendent of a community unit District 300 in Kane County, outside of Chicago, Illinois. There, he hired Lindsay Sharp to be the principal of Gulfview Elementary School from 2016 to 2018. So this is not the first time that Mr. Hyde has done a favor for Mrs. Sharp. He had hired her to be a principal of the Gulfview Elementary School. Sharp and Hyde had worked together in Duval County schools, where Sharp served as a principal during Hyde's tenure as a chief academic officer. Okay, so they're just thick as thieves. They're going back and forth, keeping each other in the job, making sure that they're looking out for each other. So let's hear about Mr. Carlos Bedoya. In 2021, age 67, was given a 66-year sentence. A 66-year sentence is a plea deal for 12 accounts of aggravated sexual abuse on 12 Gulfview Elementary School students. Wow. So, folks, you're hearing that correctly. Mr. Bedoya was a teacher, worked as a couple different things, a soccer coach, a substitute teacher, and a parents teacher, I'm guessing that's what that means. At Gulfview Elementary School from August 2015 to 2017. Yeah, during the time that Mrs. Sharp was the principal of it. Okay, so she was at least in charge. At this point, you can say it's incompetence. This in addition to an 112-year sentence he received in 2019 for the heinous abuse of another child at the school. That must have been some serious abuse. They probably had him dead to rights. I'm glad to get him off the streets. Lawsuits against District 300 naming Sharp and Hyde allege, instead of removing Bedoya's access to the children, District 300 and or Sharp reassigned the children who complained of Bedoya's inappropriate behaviors to other classes at the school. So instead of doing something, they tried to cover it up. That's what's being alleged. They were moving the students around, trying to just, okay, he fancies this kid. Let's go ahead and move him out of here. Hopefully nothing else happens, right? Fingers crossed. These people are absolute geniuses. According to 2018 Chicago Tribune report, the superintendent Hyde disputed several of the suit's allegations, saying We have no record of any reported incidences. This allegation is unsubstantiated. We have no allegations of misconduct or employees acting inappropriately. So they're going to play the I see nothing game. According to another Tribune report, the superintendent Hyde had told, oh, this is great. Hyde had told the district staff that the Bedoya was under investigation for child assaults on June of 2017. And then in July of 2017, he sent a notice to Bedoya saying that there was, quote, reasonable assurance that District 300 shall retain you as a substitute teacher as a need basis for the 2017 and 2018 school year. That is absolutely unbelievable. That is the kind of corruption that can sometimes be seen in things like this when you don't pay attention. You cover, you slide things under the rug, and a bunch of innocent people get hurt. And it is an absolute tragedy. So that's the main reason why I wanted to do this expo, was for this story right here. I feel that this is something that needs to be spread around. Just a few more points in the story. Bedoya was arrested in July 18th, 2017. So he was actually arrested in 2017 for molesting a 6-year-old boy at the Gulfview Elementary. Sharp maintained her role as principal of Gulfview Elementary School until June of 2018, a week after the first lawsuit against her and the school district was filed. Sharp was then moved to an administrative role at the Central District Office directly under, with a $2,800 USD increase in salary. I really need to get Alex Stein's sound bit. Wow. That's how you do it here in America. You fail your way upwards instead of putting her on leave or saying, hey, we're gonna have to put some distance in this situation until things get resolved. Instead, she gets a better job, I'm assuming, with a higher pay directly under her friend, Mr. Hyde. And these two people are now in the Polk County school system. Hyde is our superintendent, Sharp as the person in charge of all the digital learning. So don't forget that, folks. You know who to address. And of course, there are other things. The lawsuit alleges that Bedoya had many red flags as an employee with access to children, including lacking a valid ID, and also that the principal, Sharp, did not administer a proper background check on Mr. Bedoya. Well, that's obviously because valid IDs and background checks are incredibly racist. So you definitely can't have that. But in all seriousness, no, though, that is, I don't even know what to say. There are no words. Just we need to do something about that. They've refused to comment on any of it, of course. Yet, of course, there are serious questions that remain for Polk County schools. I agree. There's supposed to be a hiring process, especially for the superintendent and things of that nature. Now, I understand how Miss Sharp got in. She got in because it's a good old boy or girls club, depending on how you look at it. Excuse me. And she just got hired on from her friend, Mr. Hyde. The question is, how the heck did Hyde slip through the cracks and make it as our superintendent recently? I have to go back and look at how that's done and who actually gave the green light on that. That may be our fault as a community. For all, I think we might vote on that sort of thing. So definitely need to get people on that. If you live in Polk County and you still have your kids in the public schooling system, I just have a couple words for you. What are you doing? That actually goes for anybody in the country. If you have kids in the public school system, what are you doing? The government fails at absolutely everything that they get their hands in, so I don't know why you would want them to be in charge of educating the young minds. So that's about all I have for this story. If you want to go check it out, go to aneighborschoice.com, and then you can just search for a superintendent director named in ongoing lawsuit. It's pretty easy to find. So we'll go ahead and close that out. So some pretty crazy stuff going on right here in my own backyard. Go ahead and sound the alarm for that. But as we do, I would like to go ahead and take a moment to thank our new sponsor that we have just acquired. We have been in contact through another YouTuber that's been around for a while, Kinison. Thank you very much for getting us in contact. I reached out to Susan the other day, let her know about my marketing experience and that I'd love to help her with her product. And she sent me Truth Smacks. Now, I would have made a video about it sooner, but I actually wanted to try it. I wanted to see how I felt after eating it. It's all organic. It's actually made right here in Florida, which is really great. And they have all the ingredients on every box. Very, very delicious, folks. I recommend you go to the website and grab a bag. But the real reason why I love Truth Smacks, because obviously trail mix is excellent. That's definitely a perk. But the real benefit to Truth Smacks is that as truthers, we always have a need to smack people with the truth. And when you do want to smack people with the truth, it's best to go ahead and grab yourself a bag of Truth Smacks. And that's because on every single bag of Truth Smacks, they're going to give you some great little facts. For example, on this one, Trail Mix Freedom Edition, they're going to give you some freedom quotes. This quote here from Benjamin Franklin: "They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither and will lose both." So that's a great little quote on there for the Truth Smacks. Go ahead and check it out. Here is their website. I was actually in the middle of placing an order here, so you'll have to forgive me. Let me get this out of here. But I want to take you to the website, truthsmacks.com, and you can go over here to their resources tab. And this is just absolutely great. If you have a bunch of friends that you're trying to wake up, you're trying to get them to see that maybe things aren't exactly as you've been told. Maybe there's some funny business going along. You can take them to this resource, and it gives you a whole bunch of links to go to. So over here, we got Germ Theory Exposed, Question Everything, StopLookThink.com, Deep Dive Down the Rabbit Hole, TruthPirates.com, free speech media platforms that you can go to. For those of you who don't know, YouTube gets pretty censored, so there's not a whole lot that I can say on here. But if you go to these websites, you can definitely dig in and really stretch your brain out, get that exercise. You know what they say, if you don't use it, you lose it. So get out there and do your own research. They also got stuff on vaccines, flat earth, cryptocurrency. For those of you who are just trying to get a leg up financially, I mean, you don't even have to be a big truther to get good information out of here in crypto101.com. Don't forget your consultations. If you want to get months worth of information in just a short period of time, you can go over here to jeranism.com/crypto. And there's definitely some great resources here. So that is all at Truth Smacks. And finally, if you go over here to shop, last thing I want to help you guys out with. Once you select your order, my internet's not the best, bear with me. The website's really, really great, really easy to use. Packaging is really great. You can select your brand. They got the flat earth variety. Also, Granny Knows Best. You can get your little paperback or a hardcover book. Let's just be honest, folks. When you got kids, you're going to need a hardcover book because kids don't know how to take care of stuff. So there's going to be spills and stuff like that. Spills don't help for the hardcover, but it does help for the rips and just the overall longevity of it. So go ahead and grab yourself that. You got children, never too early to start teaching them about the flat earth. Go over here to the checkout. Checkout. And don't forget to go over here to the promotion code and type in your promotion code SKY for a 10% discount on the total order. Easy as 1, 2, 3. And that is truthsmacks.com. Thank you, Susan. Since I have been making my rounds, I've been on the Jeranism show. I've made a few flat earth videos. I've now been granted my unofficial flat earth badge. So we're really happy to have that, but I would like to make it official. So Dave Wise, you got to come on my show and you got to give us the Flat Earth Crash course. Also, don't forget to go to Earth is flatearth101.com. We appreciate that. So let's go ahead and talk about something kind of like solutions to the issue, because we can stand here and we can bitch about problems all day long until we're blue in the face, but unless people actually have forward-thinking solutions, nothing's actually going to get done. Now, I'm more of an anarchist, though not completely. I do believe in a small role for government, but I do believe that most solutions can be handled right in the private sector. So this is something that I stumbled across. Huge shout out to this channel called Nature Jab. For those of you who aren't familiar, Nature Jab is a channel that is changing the world. They're not very big right now, but they have figured out something crazy with recycling. And you best hear it right from the horse's mouth. So let's go ahead and get this going.
Yo, who remembers this scene? Okay, yeah. Trash in the fuel.
Go ahead, quick, get the car.
No. No.
Back to the future.
Back to the future is now! This is my microwave pyrolysis reactor. With it, I can turn all trash into fuel. Plastic waste, food waste, coffee pods. It turns into beautiful gaseous fuel and a liquid fuel that we can refine with the distiller. And we put this oil in there and we get out gasoline, baby. Don't believe me? Just watch. We'll run this engine right now. Subscribe to my YouTube channel @MarkRober. We're changing the world, guys. It bloody works, mate. Plastic. You hear that, big oil? You ain't got my money no more, big oil. You ain't got my money.
Amen. You ain't got my money no more, big oil. At least it definitely doesn't have to. Let's go ahead and close out that before the ad starts playing. But yeah, so that is a microwave pyrolysis reactor, courtesy of Nature Jab for figuring out that technology. It's stuff that's already existed, to be fair, but they have it on an industrial scale. He's figured out how to make it on the individual scale. So companies out there who like to produce stuff, you know, he's not really looking for a major buck or anything like that. He's just trying to change the world a little bit at a time. And that's some really good technology. So people can get that mass produced if it can be cheap enough. And even if it's not, you can make it yourself and start turning all your plastic. And I do believe he has other videos with food waste as well. Turn that into sweet, sweet gasoline. Absolutely incredible. Those are the types of solutions that we need to see more of, because that's the type of thing that takes the power from the hands of the powers that be and puts it back into the hands of we the people. And regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, that's something that we can get behind. Green, environmentalist, Democrat, Republican, liberal, it doesn't really matter. Everybody should want to be able to recycle their plastic easier and to be able to have better gasoline prices. Some people would argue, oh, gasoline is just bad for the environment anyway because of the emissions. Well, the truth is if you actually look at the emissions generated from recycling plastic as is, it's absolutely tremendous. It's a much better scenario when you actually look at it. So again, don't take my word for it. Do your own research. Go to Nature Jab. He's got tons of videos on there. He also has a TikTok, so go check him out, please. And so that is going to go ahead and cover that. There was one thing I did want to talk about: taxation versus crowdfunding. We've all seen the problems with taxation. Taxation, you know, a lot of people feel that is forced. It's not something that is very good, and it can be used as a tool to keep the American people poor. So what do we do? And not only that, but taxation is something that when it is sourced and the money is taken, who then has the access and use and direction of that money, of those funds? Well, it's certainly not us. That's for sure. So what can we do about stuff like that? And I think that we have the solution this day and age here in 2022. I think the solution is in the blockchain. I'm not an expert on cryptocurrency or blockchain technology, but a few things I do know is the basic concept and how it works. It's an open source. Anybody can see into any of the accounts, but you just don't have any of the access to it. At least that's how it works for Bitcoin. And so I think that that can be an absolutely great way to do votes in a way that can make it so that elections can no longer be swayed. And that way, the real voice of the people can actually be heard, and we can have something a little closer to a true democracy to work with our republic that's supposed to keep our basic rights safe. Obviously, I don't believe that basic rights like the right to speech, the right to own firearms and protect yourself, the right to have privacy, the right to your own medical decisions, and things not explicitly covered that only have to do with yourself and your own personal business. I believe that those rights are not on the chopping block to be decided. So that's not something for democracy, but democracy can handle everything else. And I think the best way to do that would be to find a way to implement that into the blockchain. So if it's already been done and I'm just missing it, somebody can post a link, leave a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you because that's the kind of information that I'm trying to spread around. And if it hasn't been made yet, spread this video around. Hopefully it gets into the right hands and we can start getting something like that made immediately. Just like with cryptocurrency, people are starting to see that that is the superior way to do money. Yes, it's a little bit on a downturn right now, but our dollar is on a tremendous downturn. We've lost 99.9% of our spending value. So there's tremendous value to be had in just hedging against that. You know, you don't have to get rich off of it, but if you can at least protect your savings and protect your worth and value that you produce out here in society, then that would be all the more worth it. So that's going to go ahead and cover that. I think that's all the time that we have today. I appreciate everybody stopping by. We, again, thank our sponsor, Truth Smacks. Don't forget your promotion code SKY. And for those of you who haven't had a chance already, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below, whether you agree or disagree. We definitely want to hear from you. This is a channel that seeks to reach across the aisle in all aspects: science, politics, spirituality. We haven't gotten into the spiritual videos yet because that's heavily opinionated, let's just be honest, but that's going to be coming here soon. So do stay tuned, and we appreciate you stopping by. Until next time.